The Book of the Damned, Part 1. When ecologists find a predictable lifespan of a generation separating us from total extinction, it would seem that we have a duty to search for another interpretation of mankind's life story. Vine Deloria said that in God is Red. What a curious thing to say. Because we're on the verge of extinction, we should look for another interpretation of mankind's life story? What difference does a story make? It makes a difference, because the story we have, we are enacting. We are making it come true. And in making it come true, we are pushing ourselves toward extinction. A plant physiologist works to develop a new, more productive strain of wheat that will feed this generation's starving millions. It's a noble endeavor. He knows it's a noble endeavor because he knows that story. What he's doing fits right into it. He's enacting it. He's making it come true. But he doesn't know history. He doesn't need to know history to be a plant physiologist. So he doesn't know this historical fact, that every increase in food production stimulates a population increase greater than can be supported by that increase in food production. Peter Farb calls it the basic paradox of food production. Intensification of production to feed an increased population leads to a still greater increase in population. By increasing food production for the starving millions of this generation, the plant physiologist is assuring that there will be even more starving millions in the next generation. He is enacting the story. He is making it come true. And the end of that story is the extinction of the human race. You know the story too. We all do. We learned it in school. We learned it in church. We'd know it even if we never went to school or to church, because every news story, every magazine article, every book is written as a part of that story, is written with that story as a background. You could learn it just watching television commercials. You know it. Think simply. It's about the conquest of the world. It's about man gaining control over his environment. It's about man rising above nature and mastering it as a workman masters a tool. It's about man reshaping the earth to his own purposes. That's what the story is about. But what's the story? You know it. It has a beginning, a middle, and an end, just like every good story. The beginning. Man was born a long, long time ago, about 3 million years ago. But he wasn't too bright back then. He didn't know he could control his environment. So he had to live pretty much like an animal, just taking whatever came to hand. But time passed and man evolved. Homo habilis became Homo erectus, and Homo erectus finally became Homo sapiens about 200,000 years ago. So there we were, Homo sapiens, modern man. Clean him up, give him a shave and a haircut and a suit, and he could be a computer programmer or a literary critic. Then a strange thing happened. For 200,000 years, Homo sapiens accomplished nothing, made no effort to gain control of his environment. God knows why. Didn't occur to him, probably. The middle. Then, about 10,000 years ago, Homo sapiens finally woke up to the fact that he could control his environment. Instead of living like an animal and depending on whatever came to hand, he could grow his own food. That was the beginning of everything. Mastery over food supply was the key that unlocked the box of keys. It was the mastery that made all the other masteries possible. Mastery over food supply meant that man need no longer follow the game as a nomadic hunter-gatherer. He could settle down in one place. He could build. He could invent. He could think. Mastery over food supply meant that man was free. Free to conquer the world. Free to reshape the world to his liking. The end. Liberated from the restraints that his environment had imposed on him for 3 million years, man proceeded to fulfill his manifest destiny. What had once been nomadic camps became villages. Villages grew into towns. Towns grew into cities. Cities were gathered into kingdoms. Kingdoms were gathered into empires. Technology, literacy, government, the arts, the sciences, law, religion, philosophy, all flourished. It was civilization, the ultimate home of man. Civilization is the ultimate home of man because, like man, it can never cease to grow toward an everlasting future of richness, grandeur, enlightenment, and unimaginable accomplishment. Even the stars themselves may not be out of our reach. Perhaps it is our awesome destiny to rule the entire universe. But that's in the future. Just now, we've hit a bad patch right here on Earth. We've got to get past that first. We've gobbled up our resources as though they were unlimited. We've got to find more so we can go on. We've devastated the land, poisoned the air, fouled the water. We're on the verge of ecological catastrophe. We've got to fix that so we can go on. Millions of us are starving. A worldwide famine is not out of the question. We've got to increase food production so we can go on. Our population is doubling every 37 years. If it goes on that way, there will be 50 billion of us here by the end of the next century. 10 times as many as there are now. We've got to get that under control so we can go on. The problem is mastery. We just haven't got enough of it yet. We haven't yet mastered our resources. We haven't yet mastered the ecological processes of the world. We haven't yet mastered food production. We haven't yet mastered population growth. That's why we have to go